To commemorate the 50th anniversary of Godzilla vs. Hedorah, Bandai's new Fantasy Toys line brings us this wonderful stylized Hedorah figure. We're taking a close look today at the Bandai Fantazzzy Toys Hedorah. And yes, that's fantasy with 3 Z's. Why? I have no idea, but this is definitely not a figure to sleep on. Like the best of Sofubi toys, this figure blends together those elements of cuteness, whimsy, and style, while still maintaining the essence of the original character. This particular figure features a very bold silhouette with simple minimalistic designs that really makes for an eye-catching appearance. What makes the figure pop even more is its beautiful use of paint. While it's molded in a gray vinyl, there is a nice range of colors on display here to add contrast. This particular version of this figure is the one that's painted closest to its actual appearance in the film itself. At the time of this recording, there are 3 other colorways of this figure for a total of 4 variants. So we have this one that I'm reviewing today, a beautiful neon pink one, an interesting red and blue sort of combination, and a black one with 2 alternate colored eyes. Simplicity does not always mean a lack of detail, however. Throughout the entire figure, every bit of sludge really makes for a surprisingly deep sculpt, considering this is soft vinyl. All that sludgy detail makes for a very gloopy looking figure, especially when we look at the hands. It looks like it's ready to drip at any second. And I think what works best for this sculpt is the way light hits it. It adds even more to the depth of the figure because you have some beautiful shadow in contrast with some highlights from the light that hits the other sections. As we make our way to the side of the head here, you'll notice this line that's kind of apparent that becomes even more prominent as we make our way to the other side. This is actually a seam that, while not perfect, is fine because the rest of the figure, especially front facing, you can't really tell. Aside from that, however, the slightly tilted head pose and the wide-eyed demeanor are the cherry on top that give so much personality to this toy. When it comes to articulation for this figure, it is relatively limited. We have 2 points of articulation, and that is located in both of the arms. However, because of the delicate nature of this paint, I really didn't want to play around with the arms, just take my word for it, they do move. I do not believe you can get a full 360 degrees of motion because of the limitations of this sculpt, but you really don't need to be moving this around as much. I feel that the position that it comes in is perfect as is. At its highest point, the toy is about 6.5 inches tall, so this is definitely more in the middle size of Sofubi toys. And this is what it looks like compared to some of my other toys in my collection. This is actually the first official Hedorah figure that I have in my collection. I haven't actually owned any officially licensed Hedorah figures prior to this, but I knew for the longest time that I wanted to get my hands on one. I've always liked Hedorah's design, and I know I wanted it in toy form at some point, and while there has been so many versions of it from different companies, I never quite found the one that spoke to me, until Bandai released this one. This is easily one of my favorite Sofubi toys in my entire collection, and it's a nice departure from the usual Godzilla figures that I generally collect. While Bandai might be better known for their movie monster series of figures and other toy lines as well, I do think that this newer Fantasy Toys line is a really nice departure from their usual type of toys. As evidenced by this figure I just reviewed, it does seem like the Fantasy Toys line is entering more into the art toy territory, which is definitely up my alley. Aside from this Hedorah, there's also a Godzilla 89 that they've done in a really cool style, and more recently, a Gigan, which I really have my eyes on, which I might wind up getting sometime in the future. To my knowledge, I believe these toys are purchasable through Bandai Premium's website, the Japanese version more specifically, though by the time I decided to pull the trigger on this Hedorah, it was already sold out, so I wound up getting it through a really good seller on eBay for a very reasonable aftermarket price. Considering Bandai has already done 4 colorways of this figure in its first year of release, I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to do more, and that goes the same for their Godzilla and Gigan. While there are only 1 version each of those so far, it's likely that they may do other colors of those figures as well. But if they do continue with this Fantasy Toys line, I'd love to see more characters in this style. But back to this specific figure, this is easily one of my favorites of the year that I've gotten. this is likely going to make a top 5 in my top figures of the year for 2022. There's just something so interesting about its style, the pose, the simplicity of it. This is exactly why I collect these types of toys, and I absolutely love it. And you know it really was made with love by Bandai, because there's a heart at the bottom of this figure. This is going to be it for the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making it. If you're new to the channel and you like the content, please consider subscribing and taking a look at my other Godzilla figure content on the channel as well. Follow me on Instagram at Total Approximation, where I post Godzilla toy photography each week. And thank you for watching. Have a good one.